Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Dual Time Reference 26120ST. You can see this 39mm stainless steel dual time Royal Oak and purchase it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this 39mm steel Royal Oak with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this 39mm black dial stainless steel Royal Oak Dual Time. Now, the watch on my wrist represents one of the most traditionally proportioned and wearable Royal Oak variants. The 39s have died hard, pretty much limited today to the Dual Time and the Jumbo. Nevertheless, they're also enjoying a resurgence on the pre-owned market because many have simply found that the 41 is too big. If you're going to wear the 41, you may as well go with an offshore. They have almost the same physical footprint on the wrist. Also, the 39mm size ties you more closely to Gerald Genta's original dimensions and proportions, so in many ways the 39 is the purist's choice. It also fits easily on my 16cm circumference wrist. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer and improve the detail, but you'll note that the watch, 39mm across the round of the case, not including the crown, sits securely on a 16cm circumference wrist, and in my estimation, you could wear this watch on a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters in circumference. It is slim in profile. As you can see, the height above the wrist is very reasonable. Now, it's 10.4mm, which means that you can slide it underneath any dress cuff, not just the suit jacket, also the dress sleeve beneath. A big part of that is the thickness, which is slight, and the rounded profile of that octagonal and iconic bezel, which allows the sleeve to ramp up and over. Now, from lug to lug, the watch does extend its presence. It does wear like a bigger watch. It doesn't wear like a 39, it wears more like a 41, a 42, to be honest. From lug to lug, it's a substantial 49.5mm, and that's across the wrist. Now, if you include the plots, these intermediate links that join the lugs to the bracelet, you do have an inflexible span. That is, you can't pull it straight down. That's as far down as it'll go. The inflexible span across the wrist increases to 52.9, which is why I would say, though typically a 39mm round watch will wear on a 13.5 centimeter wrist, the fact that this one does have that built-in flare that will fight the curve of your wrist means I can only recommend it down to a wrist size of 14.5 centimeters, at least on the bracelet. Straps may change the equation. Now, moving back a little bit, I'm going to talk about the shape of the case, which does mitigate a little bit against the difficulty of pulling the bracelet straight down. You can see how the lugs are short and tightly downturned. That helps ergonomically. This is a very comfortable watch to wear because the back of the case is so regularly shaped and flat. There are no pressure points or hot spots. Now, while the bracelet may have a little stiffness to it, you'll also note that the quality is immense. It is fixed to the case with screws, no spring bars here. This is how it should be for every heavy and expensive watch. There should be no spring bars in the year 2018. Audemars Piguet was ahead of the curve. You'll also note that the level of finish is extraordinary. The satin is immaculate and perfectly aligned. The polished bevel that extends from the midcase spreads over the lug and then continues uninterrupted and perfectly aligned down the bracelet is a sign of not just the skill, but the time invested in making these bracelets. It takes hours to finish the metal of a Royal Oak bracelet and case. That's what you're paying for. That's where the handcraft goes in this watch. You'll note that the edges of the plots that hold the links together are mirror polished, and on the underside it's just as good ergonomically, with plenty of air channels to aerate the wrist on a hot day, and you can see the scalloped channels between the links to avoid pinching skin or pulling hair. In contrast to a certain Patek sports watch, let's just go out and say it, since 2012, the Nautilus has used pins and sleeves to size its bracelets. Audemars Piguet continues to use screws. That's the way it should be. Again, best practices from AP. A sturdy double deployant clasp. You can see that it closes and maintains a relatively low profile, so it's less susceptible to desk diving scratches than, for instance, something like a dive clasp on a Seamaster or a Speedmaster or a Seamaster or a Submariner. This is a nice, discreet, comfortable, and as you can see, beautifully contoured arced clasp that will fit the underside of your wrist comfortably without sticking its head above the parapet and getting disfigured. Now, the case finish is just as impressive as the bracelet. As you can see, the perfect alignment of the character line crease from the top of the bezel to the flank of the bezel to the mid case to the case back shows the attention to detail. A hairline expression of the bezel gasket between case and bezel, and then you'll note that there's a satin finish top, there's a polished bevel that expands as it flows out toward the lug and shrinks as it approaches the mid case. The bezel features both rounded forms in the sensuous and smooth quality of its polished bevel, and strong, hard geometries in the form of its octagonal profile, designed to mimic the porthole of a Royal Navy warship of the same name, Royal Oak. Now you'll note the characteristic recessed hexagonal, again angles, hard geometries, hexagonal bezel bolts recessed into the plane of the bezel. This is how you know that all the original metal is there with a Royal Oak, if the bezel bolts are still recessed. Now, of course, the bolts themselves are of high polished for contrast. You can see they are effectively black polished as I turn them flush to the camera, and they are made of white gold. White gold on the Royal Oak, steel on the offshore. The dial is a handsome tapisserie. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer here. And the tapisserie is beautifully detailed. Now, this is a very late I series, so this is well into the post-2012 era when Audemars Piguet took production of the tapisserie dials in-house, taking over from Stern Creations, a Richemont-owned company. Now, they still use the pantograph that Stern Creations used. That is a 19th century engine that essentially takes a pattern from a stock template and it transfers the template in miniature onto the surface of a metal base, creating the tapisserie hobnail that you see here. Now, the quality that the pantograph executes is not just the macro level, which you can see, but there's actually a micro texture on top of the hobnails and between them that rewards inspection of the dial with a loop. This is a rare watch that's just as exciting on the dial side as it is under the case back. Now, all of the indices, as well as the hands at center and the hands on the sub-register, are white gold to avoid tarnish and corrosion over time. There is Luminova applied. There will be a lume shot at the end of the video, and you can see the watch features a power reserve scale for its 38-hour autonomy. At 10 o'clock, it features a radial date. At 2 o'clock, it features a second time zone at 6, and at 7, there's a day-night indicator to clarify what time of day you're looking at. So, for example, you can see it's approaching 8:30 in the morning as the red indicator for the day-night has moved into the lighted semicircle. So this is an easy watch to read if you are traveling. Now, of course, all of this underpinned by a Jaeger-LeCoultre adapted caliber 939. So it's the 939 adapted from the Jaeger-LeCoultre Geographic, and it gives you the ability to adjust that second time zone independently of the time at center. You can see the AM/PM or night-day indicator moving in sync. You can move forward or backwards. And in a break with Jaeger-LeCoultre's practice, the watch does not feature a pusher adjuster for the date. Rather, all adjustments are done through the crown. The better to endow the watch, courtesy of its screw-down crown and its secure case back, with a rated 50 meters of water resistance. And while I don't recommend swimming with the Jumbo because of its push-down crown, that's another 50-meter watch. Audemars Piguet does say that 50 meters is sufficient for swimming. I'll endorse the screw-down crown 50-meter AP Royal Oaks for aquatic activities. Just don't go diving. This is a robust 50-meter rating with the screw-down crown. The movement itself is one of JLC's most modern. It features ceramic rotor bearings, a very efficient unidirectional winding system, a 4 Hz beat rate. It does feature a free-sprung balance for greater toughness than past models based on the older thin and fine 889. It's still a thin and fine movement, but it's tougher than it was in the past, and it's a more efficient winder with unidirectional action and ceramic rotor bearings than it was when it was bidirectional with steel rotor bearings. This is a handsome watch. In some ways, because of its proportions and its 39mm case, it is a throwback, but it's beautifully finished within and without, with a historic link between Jaeger-LeCoultre and Audemars Piguet, and this is a link that dates back to Audemars Piguet's inception in the 1870s. It even has a fascinating backstory that makes for a wonderful microcosm of the history of the town of Le Sentier in the Vallée de Joux. A watch that hits on all cylinders. This is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Dual Time reference 26120ST, available on our website. And we're looking at the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Dual Time 26120ST. You do lose the benefit of the spectacular case and bracelet finishing in the dark, but you also realize that this is a true full-featured sports watch. Day or night, rain or shine, see it on our website.